Today, we're going to talk about essential games that you should have in your collections. The games in this list cover a wide range of type of people you can play with. It can be family, friends, experienced gamers, people that you want to introduce to the hobby. So you need to have a little bit of everything. You need to have party games, you have to have the light games, you need to have the strategy games or card games, anything for every occasion. And I didn't put my very best games or my most favorite games, but I also put this list based on games that are easy to find in local game stores, or they are very popular right now, and all that kind of stuff. And these are really not in a specific order because it's not really a category. It's besides just being essential games that I think it should be in their collections. These are all kinds of games. So just put it there. Whatever game came out in my mind, I put in the list, and now we have it. The first game we're going to talk about is Azul. Azul really is a classic. It's going to turn 10 years very soon. Now it's like it came out in 2019. Now, so 2026, so 8 years old game. And oh boy, this is really a solid abstract game. What you could do, you draft tiles you're going to place on your board and you try to collect sets, combinations, patterns, building. What I like is the mechanic of when you drop the tiles, you drop all them of the same color and you put tiles in the center, whatever is not selected. And so that means that the tiles in the center, in the pot at the center, gets bigger and bigger. And at some point, someone really wants them or is forced to take them, and those may count as a negative points. I know this Azul here is very mean. There are other versions. This is stained glass Sintra. There is a Summer Pavilion. There are other that I haven't tried it. This is the one I like the most. I think Summer Pavilion is also good over here. I found a little bit procedure. You know the number of runs you have. There is not that kind of meanness to it that I think is part of the game. I really enjoy Azul. Then we have Tour. This is the newest game that you're gonna find in this list. Came with Byron Games, and this is a 2-player area control game. Players will select an action that will allow them to deploy units on the boards, to manipulate the boards. It's a very simple area control game. You know what area is gonna score, how many points, and is essentially who has the most units in that area. One cool thing is the action that you select are actual communals. And when you select an expensive action, that action can be upgraded only for yourself. And then perhaps after some turns, the action will become cheaper. You do it again, and you have that cool upgrade that your opponent doesn't have unless they decided to take it at a more expensive turn. That's the first thing. The second thing is like, there's not really a competition between you and the opponent, and you are not fighting. You are sharing the board, so you are competing for control of the board, but there's no combat. I think this is a plus because sometimes these confrontational games can be a little bit sour depending on the skills, depending of the luck, etc. Because sometimes people don't like this confrontation. If you don't like the confrontation, direct confrontation, but more like trying to control where your opponent can span, try to predict and also control the computer. There's some sort of there are other faction of the game that is spread as well. So actually, it's a kind of a 3-player game there. But that faction is very easy to maintain. You cannot ignore it because if they score most of the points, both of you lose the game. Motura plays very quick, very simple, has a classic feel, and that's why I like it. And we have number 2, Moitura. Another area control game. This is for 4 people and or better. This is for a player between 2 to 4 people. Definitely play at 4. And this is Rumble Nation. Very simple area control game. People that are familiar with Risk, they will understand. You have display units. The most units will control an area. The area will score points. Who has the most units in the area gets the point. Very simple. If they like Risk, they also like checking dice. You roll 3 dice every time. 2 of those dice will tell you where location you're going to place it. And that single die will tell you how many units will deploy in one area. Very straightforward. And in this, you have some special ability, one-time special ability, but it's fine. The cool thing is you have this area on the map between 2 to 12. You're going to score the lowest scoring area first, and then go to the highest or the higher point scoring area. Whoever wins an area is allowed to deploy more units or reinforcement in the adjacent areas if they have units over there. So that means if you win the first one, you can expand and win the second one and the third one, etc., etc. You can have that fantastic cascade that can be so satisfying and also very powerful. So throughout the deployment phase, when you roll dice and you deploy units, what you're thinking is, how am I going to score? Yes, you want to go for the 12 points, but also you can say, well, I can let the 12 points there, but if I can win the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, and the 6, definitely score more than 12 points and have this cascade. So it's a very simple game to teach, but that aspect, so engaging, so easy to grasp, that make this game an excellent game for anyone, experienced player, and also for those players that haven't experienced any new or modern board games. I'm very glad that Asmodee has brought this game from Japan here in North America so everyone can play Rumble Nation. And then we have a little card game from Asia. This is Otter. This is a card shedding game. So you have a hand of cards. You want to get rid of them as soon as possible. The first one to empty their hand 2 times or 3 times in the game wins the game. The way you do it is essentially playing cards on this altar that you're going to have at the center of the table. Each altar has 2 requirements, a suit and something about the number, odd, even, higher than 10, lower than 10, something like that. In order to play a card on that altar, you need to match one of the 2 conditions. If you match both of them, you're allowed to play again. And so what you're trying to do is like, how can I play multiple cards on the same turn? At the beginning of the game, you may do a little bit of that. Then you have the chance to manipulate the altar in the center of the table. So you can swap the tails, changing the suit between 2 altars, changing the mathematical condition under the head of the altar. For every change that you make, you have to draw 1 card. So you make your hand bigger. Now it's the decision how many cards you foresee to by making n number of changes and how many cards you're going to get in your hand. Is it going to pay off? Sometimes those cards that get drawn actually can fit the combo that you're preparing. So it's so satisfying, so easy, really a family-friendly game. In 2, it goes like a rocket ship, super fast. In 4, takes a little bit more time. There's a little bit less planning because the board at the center changes very much. But definitely a game that you want to have in your collection to play with your family, Otter. Another family game, but also a gamer game, is The Crew. There's a bazillions of version now. We also have a kind of a Lord of the Ring, but I think that's more for gamers. This is definitely a game that you can introduce to anyone as long as they have some familiarity with trick-taking game. This is a cooperative trick-taking game. You have a mission. You have a mission among players. Someone needs to win a determined number of tricks. Someone needs to have a specific number among the tricks that they win, and so on and so forth. And you do all this without communicating. The only communication you have is the indirect communication based on why you play that card in a specific time, why you haven't played that card before, why you are kind of taking time. It's like those interference based on what you are doing throughout the game. You have a small communication, a token that you can place on the table saying, this is my highest card of the suit, the lowest or the only one, something like that. There's a whole campaign, doesn't matter. This version actually has a small deck of cards. It's just randomly you take a mission, you try to accomplish, and this is The Crew. At some point, you may invite many people at your place. You cannot play The Crew that plays up to 5. You cannot play Azul up to 4 because you have 6, 7, 8 people. And so at this point, you need a party game. And my to-go party game is just one. It's still simple and engaging. You don't need to explain the rules. You just play it, and the rules get explained by themselves. You take a card where there's a word that people need to guess, and there's there is the guesser who doesn't know that word. All the other people together, they need to provide one word as a hint to help the guesser guess the correct word. Then you do this simultaneously and secretly. You write it on the board, then you reveal it among all the players, and if there are duplicates, those words gets canceled out. So essentially, there must be only one identical, only one unique single word clue to provide to the guesser. So what you want to do is be clever, but not too clever to become obtuse, and not too obvious. But at the same time, you want also the obvious clues to help the guesser. And that's why it's beautiful for everyone. Because if you are creative, you can be creative. If you are not, you can still participate and give the most obvious clue that sometimes nobody think about it or nobody wants to write it down because it's afraid that essentially their clue is gonna be canceled out. Fantastic little game, just one. Then we have another type of party game or tangent to party game, and this is Hot Streak. Hot Streak is a racing betting game where you have mascot racing on the board. What you do at the beginning of the game, you bet which one is going to win. You have some cards that can allow you all to manipulate how the race is going to go. You put those cards into the deck, you shuffle the deck, and you let the race go. And you have really whimsical, like crazy things to happen. One time, I would have put the ready, set, bet, but I think Hot Streak really, because of the laugh, because of the irony, because of the silliness, surpasses Ready Set Bet. But if you have Ready Set Bet already in your collection, definitely a good replacement. If not, go and find a Hot Streak, finally back in stock, a fantastic party game, racing, betting game. So you have all this if you're looking for something exciting to put it to the table for everyone. This is a great choice. And then if you have people that like bingo and they like dice, I highly, strongly suggest Space Base. Space Base is an abstract game where you're going to do, you have 12 sheets, 1 to 12, with special power. You want to score the most points. Whoever scores, I think, 40 points is the winner. And so it's a sort of a race. On your turn, you're going to roll 2 dice, and those dice will activate the spaceship. And then you can have some money to buy new cards. When you put new cards, the ship that is going to be replaced can flip over and give you a special ability that can be triggered outside of your turn. And that's the cool thing. When other people play, you can trigger your spaceships, giving you points, giving you money, making you stronger for the next turn. So everyone is constantly engaged. It plays very smooth. Some people criticize it, and I think I criticize it too. Some of the iconography is a little bit obtuse, but you can remove those cards if you don't like it or you have inexperienced player. If you have a more experienced player, you can sit there and explain the rules. They will pick it up. You can give their rule book is very well written. Space Base is definitely a super fast, engaging game that gives me that bingo-esque feeling. It yet makes me have a good decision on what kind of upgrade I'm going to make, how to use my dice, to which spaceship to activate. This is Space Base. Then we go to another cooperative game, and this is like the Spire. This is a gigantic box. And so perhaps it's not, I call it essential. I understand that money-wise, it could be a big investment. If you are lucky and you can find Leviathan Vials, Leviathan Vials will give you a very similar feeling. The idea is that you go there to battle a boss, you use cards, you can work together to accomplish the mission. I picked Slay the Spire because it's actually easier to find in a board game shop. We can find it here in Canada, in London Drugs, so it's more readily available outside of the hobby or crowdfunding environment. In Slay the Spire, you go through a dungeon together with your fellows, and everyone has a special deck, everyone is asymmetrical, and you play those cards to kill the monster. And when you kill the monster, you get a reward. And most of the rewards is better cards or money to have better cards, to remove useless cards from your deck. It's a classic deck building game. Plus the dungeon crawl, plus some events and the cooperation is so fluid. I really like this cooperative game that have a very solid structure, but the cooperation is very fluid. Same with Leviathan Wilds. You are fighting, okay, you need this card, I give you this card. Hey, someone can help you with that. Do you have this card? Okay, let's work together. Rather than more like a pandemic, you need to be in the same location, have this card, but not matching the numbers. The cooperation is not as strong or as really these two games bring to the table. For this reason, Slay the Spire. Then, if you have Euro game people or you have friends that are more interested in discovering Euro games, I would strongly suggest to have White Castle in your collection. One is a little small box with a lot of content. In White Castle, you draft dice, and those dice will allow you to activate location. And by activating the location, you have some sort of resource management, worker placement. You need to go through the castle to have better cards that allow you to activate your engine. But at the same time, you send your warriors. The warriors will allow you to increase your multiplier at the end of the game. So there is lots of things going on. And the cool things and what blows my mind is that this design is so sleek and so well done that you can do a lot in only 9 rounds. You're going to draft only 9 dice, and that's it. And yet the game feels rich. You feel like you have lots of things to do, and yet you still want to do more. And I like when that happens. And because you have the engine building, you always change things. There are lots of cards. There's lots of replay value in this game and lots of different way to win the game. And that's why I strongly suggest to have it among your essential White Castle. And we complete this list with another racing game, and this is the gigantic box of Heat Pedal to the Metal. This is another family game that can bring to the table both experienced player and people that have less experience with games that are more like casual gamers, because Heat has both. Gives you the experience of the pleasure of deck building. You have a special decks that are with special powers that you can play with, or you can remove and just enjoy the deck building or deck management of the Heat. It's not easy to teach, but you need 1 or 2 rounds and people will understand the Heat problem. The Heat is essentially some sort of penalty that you take and you have to take to survive and go really fast during the race. The fact that you pick the cards that you're going to play simultaneously, the gear and stuff, makes you feel that you're really racing throughout the game. Many previous racing games are slow and the racing feel is lost. This game is able to bring it to the table. Therefore, I have to suggest this game among the essential if you're looking for a racing game. This is the best racing game you can find on the market, and this is Hit. And tell me, what are the essential that I should have put in this collection? Let me know in the comment below. And if you made it so far, I want to thank you. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. You know the drill. This is not your first YouTube video, am I right? Thank you very much, and see you next time.